Hey everybody, Plushie here, and today we begin a series of banner breakdowns that will feature all three banners that is coming to NA during Summer 7. And according to the community poll results, we are going to start with the third banner featuring Summer Skadi and Summer Wu Synergies. And this is certainly a very exciting banner. Summer Skadi, as a lot of people probably already know, is the current meta support for the quick card type, and of course she does a lot more than just help quick loop. And Summer Wu is a very interesting niche support, I suppose, but recently, due to some buffs on older servants, her value has become better and better. So yeah, definitely a really juicy banner, and without further ado, let's get into today's banner breakdown. So the SSR featured in this banner is of course our beloved ruler Skadi. She's an AoE quick meta support who has the basic structure just like OG Skadi, where she has a 50% quick up and a targetable 50 MP battery. But her second skill is a charisma effect that also has a 15% buster and quick double buff. Meaning that her steroids actually applies to all three different waves, as opposed to OG Skadi's defense down, which usually you do want to save until the last turn. On top of that, she just gets more quick up per Skadi because she actually gives you 65% quick up instead of 50%. So running double Skadi will give you a whopping 30% extra quick up, so you get better damage as well as better refund. And on top of both of those things, this also enables you to actually loop with triple Skadi. And triple Skadi actually has a lot of advantages. It's not always worse than double Skadi plug Oberon, even in the damage category. Most of the times though, Oberon's still gonna win in terms of the burst damage on the third wave, but with triple Skadi, there are looping comps that previously does not work out. Now with triple Skadi it does, and also you're front loading more damage on your quick DPS. And once again, if you're using an event CE that doesn't have an MP damage up effect, there is a potential that triple Skadi has similar damage on wave 3 to double Skadi Oberon. But on top of farming, because you know, quick farming isn't the most exciting thing ever, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but you know, she's also very good at supporting challenge quests. Just like normal Skadi, she allows quick DPSs to spam their MP very easily and, you know, dish out a bunch of crit damage. The interesting thing about Summer Skadi, at least in my opinion, is how well she plays into the Mighty Chain system. So that statement might not make a lot of sense to a lot of people, so I believe it requires some elaboration. So unlike normal Skadi, even though they both buff your DPS by 50% quick up, Summer Skadi actually buffs the buster crit damage by 100% rather than the quick crit damage by 100%. So this might seem counterintuitive at first, but then you start to realize this actually makes a lot of sense because of base card scaling. Buster card has a base scaling of 1.5, Arts has a base scaling of 1.0, and Quick has a base scaling of 0.8. So at base, Buster cards almost do twice as much damage as a Quick card. So even if you have like 100% Quick up on your Quick card, it's still going to be doing as about the same amount of damage as your Buster card if it has no Buster ups on it. So buffing the crit damage of a way stronger Buster card is actually a lot more efficient than buffing the Quick card. And, you know, with this card scaling thing, we can also mention how it's completely flipped 180 when we talk about MP damage scaling. So all of the different card types MPs have fundamentally very different scaling numbers. And these numbers actually make sense because when you multiply them by the base card type scaling, they usually make the same number, or at least very similar numbers. So as you can see here on this chart, when you actually do the math, Buster MPs do the exact same damage as an Arts MP if all conditions remain the same, but Quick MPs actually hit slightly harder. So Summer Skadi is a servant that buffs the strongest MP card type, which is Quick, but also at the same time buffs the strongest card damage type with the Buster crit up over the Quick crit up. So it's very unique, and I think it's a very smart design that definitely requires a lot of thought into how FGO card scaling works. But what does this have to do with Mighty Chains, you might ask? Well, the simple reason is that back in the day, leading with Quick cards absolutely sucked. But during this anniversary, we got 2 fundamental changes to how phase cards work in FGO, especially involving quick cards. So first of all, leading with quick got an update. Back in the day, you only get a star generation boost on the following cards if you lead with quick. But now, on top of that, you also get 20% crit chance boost on all of the cards in that chain. It is especially helpful, for example, if one of your cards is already at 80% crit chance, you can simply lead with a quick card to boost that 80% to a guaranteed 100%. Just in general, you make crits happen a lot more likely if you lead with a quick card. And of course, the second, biggest sort of change that made leading with quick MPs better is Mighty Chains. So Mighty Chains is a brand new card type that will be introduced during the 7th anniversary that essentially, if you have all 3 card types in your chain, Quick, Buster, and Arts, your chain would be treated as if it was led by Quick, Buster, and Arts all at once. So you get the damage buff as if it was led by a Buster card, you get the MP gain buff on all cards as if it was led by an Arts card, and you get the star generation up as well as the 20% crit chance up on all of your cards as if you led the chain with a quick card. So with the Mighty Chain system, you now actually put the card that you want the effect of the most last, since there's no more bonuses for leading with any specific card type. So instead, you just want that one card to have a stronger effect, which the later you put them in a chain, the more effect they will get. So leading with a quick MP is actually insanely good for Mighty Chains, because the MP itself is unaffected by positioning. So you might as well use the most shabby card, because, the buff Quick only got was the leading effect. So the Quick card itself is still a flimsy card that generates a little bit more stars, so it's usually not worth a lot. So you actually use that slot to use your MP and have way more valuable Buster and Arts cards following it. And with Summer Skadi, you get the best of both worlds, with the 50% quick up buffing your strong quick MP, and the 100% Buster crit up to buff that very powerful Buster card that you can put at the end of a Mighty Brave Chain and dish out massive amounts of damage. So as mentioned before, because of that Buster crit up on her first skill, and actually having another 15% Buster up on her second skill, Summer Skadi is very often used, on top of being a quick support, actually as a Buster support, because realistically you don't really have a better choice to give immediately a 100% Buster crit up for 3 turns. Merlin can do 100% crit up, but it's only for 1 turn, and if you're using someone like Himiko, you might need MP levels, and also it's not on a skill, so it does take a lot more time to set up. And I do believe in a Buster team, you actually appreciate Summer Skadi's second skill star generation per turn effect a lot more than in a quick team, because in a quick team, a lot of times you're overflowing on stars because of that quick servant already, but in a Buster team, even though you do have star bombs from Koyanska of Light, having a sustainable source of stars is very useful. 15 stars per turn for 3 turns is definitely no joke. And compared to someone like Himiko, Summer Skadi is a lot more immediate with her other buff type effects. So Summer Skadi is very flexible as a challenge quest support, because on top of being able to support quick very well, especially if you play into the Mighty Chain system, it also supports Buster servants very well if you want to focus on crit damage on your Buster cards. And then finally, Summer Skadi also triples as a really decent quick AoE, looper / DPS. So Summer Skadi, with another Summer Skadi and normal Skadi, can pretty easily loop if you plug in another unit. You can obviously plug in Oberon for maximum damage, but if you want better refund, you can even plug in someone such as Castoria, who can give your party an additional MP gain up to make your looping easier. In fact, with triple Skadi and 1 Castoria, you can actually loop 3/3 Berserkers with Ruler Skadi without the help of any appends. She even has an anti-lawful anti-trait on her MP. So in certain 90++ nodes, she might just be the perfect looper. And Summer Skadi, of course, has a lot to love in her challenge quest performance overall. On top of being a wonderful explosive support for both quick and Buster crits, she can also serve as her own DPS, because everything she can help another person do, she can help herself as well. She has the perfect deck for her kit, which is double buster, double quick. And, once again, she has a damaging MP, so absolutely no problem. In quick teams where one of the biggest criticisms to it is that what if the main DPS dies? It's a lot harder to protect the main DPS as opposed to arts. Well, you can just shift gears to using Summer Skadi. And Summer Skadi actually doesn't die very easily because of her natural bulk as a ruler. She also has the wonderful combo in her passives with Magic Resistance EX and Goddess Essence A, having a passive debuff resistance of 50%. This is absolutely massive, and it prevents her from getting hit by stray debuffs, especially stuff like skill seals that will prevent her from serving her function. So extremely, extremely powerful unit, just in a team, in all aspects, essentially. So now I'm going to briefly list out my personal pros and cons of Summer Skadi. Summer Skadi, first and foremost, is a meta support. She enables optimal quick looping and also supports quick in challenge quests very well. But on top of supporting quick, she also supports Buster very efficiently, albeit mostly on the face card damage side rather than the MP side. And she also serves as a really nice DPS herself, having a damaging MP and an anti-trait allowing her to actually loop pretty nicely because, she has a 50 battery and decent refund, and overall also serve as a really nice DPS in a challenge quest and as a contingency plan for your quick teams in case your quick DPS perishes. Summer Skadi also, just like any other meta support, don't really require you to pull for more than one copy if you only intend to use her as a support. In terms of cons, there's only ever going to be one, you probably see it coming, which is that she's not as broken as Castoria. In terms of farming, arts have the refund advantage, even though sometimes quick can beat them in damage, but not always. And in terms of challenge quests, arts is just way more brain dead than quick. So if you intend on only using arts, then yes, Summer Skadi is not going to be mandatory. Very straightforward. I will say though, I think Buster is not miles ahead of quick. A lot of their farming comps both involve 50 MP starting charge CEs, and quick a lot of times actually does better damage than Buster, minus the third wave because Oberon. So of course Summer Skadi is not the only servant featured on this banner. The 4-star of this banner is Summer Wu. Summer Wu is an AoE Buster caster DPS / support. Summer Wu is very interesting. Her main purpose is of course tied to her MP, where she has the ability to apply Undead trait to all enemies for 3 turns. However, even without that specific combo, she has a very solid skill set as a support to begin with. Her first skill is a 15% attack up, buster up, and 20% MP gain up for the entire party for 3 turns. That's a really nice mix of buff types and a really nice uptime for the entire party. It helps her and helps her other teammates as well. Her second skill is an AoE MP Drain, a party damage up by 30% power mod against undead, which she can apply to the enemies. And finally, a 20% team-wide battery, which is of course also extremely useful even if we don't consider the anti-undead power mod. And then finally, her third skill is an AoE stun to all undead enemies, a team-wide heal by 3000, and a team-wide debuff removal, which is, of course, once again, extremely useful even if we don't consider the AoE stun against undead enemies, which, I mean, obviously is very strong. An AoE stun on a skill can buy you a lot of breathing space, but even if we don't consider that, a team-wide cleanse is extremely powerful, especially considering, one, it is tied to a servant that has the ability to buff other servants offensively, and also, Summer Wu has a passive that makes her immune to mental debuffs. So for example, if there's a boss that has a charm gimmick for the entire party, you can just have Summer Wu in the front line, be immune to that charm, and cleanse the entire party's debuffs. That is something that not even Castoria can do without a specific CE equip. Now going back to the apply undead thing, which is of course her niche because nobody else can do it in the game, I do believe there are 3 servants in the game that particularly pairs well with this. There are obviously more anti-undead than these 3, but I think these 3 are the most relevant. We have FGOWIKI first because she is a Buster servant that naturally works well with Summer Wu's Zetian skill set, And also, she has a triple Buster deck and a 50% anti-undead power mod for 3 turns on her 3rd skill. So Summer Wu Zetian helps both her MP damage as well as her face card damage because she is also a Saber with a Gorilla Buster deck. And power mods obviously apply to both MP and face cards. So Summer Wu is one of her best supports. Gray has an even bigger anti-undead power mod, which is at 100% for 3 turns. And she's free, so everyone has her. Gray obviously has a way worse deck of taking advantage of this on the face card department because she has a triple quick deck, but at the same time, her MP is still Buster, so following Summer Wu's MP with Gray's MP will allow her to do, once again, insane amounts of damage against all enemies. And finally, Skahak. After her recent buff, her skill 3 power mod at 100% anti-undead and 100% anti-divine is extended to 3 turns, which is extremely broken because it also has such a short downtime at a 5-turn cooldown. So you can always pair Summer Wu with Skahak, even against divine enemies. And then finally, Summer Wu as a DPS is not horrible. All of her skill set works with herself, and her MP even has an anti-man anti-trait, which is kind of out of nowhere, but it's not horrible. So now let me briefly list out my pros and cons for Summer Wu. In terms of pros, Summer Wu is a very unique synergy piece for certain powerful anti-undead DPSs. But outside of that, she is still just a very useful Swiss Army knife type support, having a great mixture of offensive buffs, especially if you consider the 30% anti-undead, because she can apply undead, and also great utility in the form of a team-wide 20% MP charge, as well as a party-wide debuff cleanse that combos with a mental debuff immune passive that can allow her to deal with certain bosses extremely well. In terms of the cons, obviously the biggest one is you do need specific servants to combo with her in order for her to feel like really strong. At the very least, you will always have Gray because she will be added to the evocation shop in the future, but obviously if you don't have servants such as Skahak or Ibuki, she's not going to feel nearly as strong. And the second con is, of course, yeah, she has an anti-man MP, but AoE Buster caster that can't loop, not a great DPS. In conclusion, I'm gonna give this banner a recommendation score of a 5 out of 5. And honestly, I don't think I have to explain further. This is sort of like the golden buzzer of Americans Got Talent. I see a meta support, it's a 5 out of 5. It's just such great value. You don't have to roll for multiple copies for her to be effective. And, if you want to, she even doubles as a great DPS. So even without Summer Wu, I would rank this banner a 5 out of 5. And Summer Wu is just the icing on the cake to secure this 5 out of 5 even further. And even with such fierce competition in the form of the other 2 Summer 7 banners happening essentially at the same time as Summer Skadi, it still doesn't shake Summer Skadi's position as the most important servant released in recent memory. Because, once again, she is the quick meta support that can also do very well in Buster. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I still yapped a bunch, especially in the Mighty Chain part, so I will give you a timestamp to skip that if you already know what's going on with that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you guys in the next banner breakdown. According to the poll, it's probably going to be Summer Ibuki, but who knows, it could change. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the CEs. I apologize. They suck, right? I mean, they're mid. They don't particularly suck, but nobody really cares. They're just a bunch of jumbled up random effects that nobody really cares about, and every year they remix them and then shit them out. So yeah, unfortunately, not very good.